What's going on, everybody there in Twitter world and YouTube? I am GunzPicks, and this is Saturday mornings with GunzPicks. We are back. And I'm joined, as always, by my brother in arms, the co-host here on Saturday mornings with GunzPicks. It is Pimp Slap himself, Mikey M. What's going on, my friend? How you doing this beautiful morning?
'Tis the season for lots of sports here. What a great Saturday we're going to have, and great idea to get back in the ring here and mix it up with this card. So difficult bowl season, tricky. We're going to help everyone sort this thing out, but should be a lot of fun. And looking forward to a nice, long, relaxing weekend here with Christmas, of course, on Monday. So all about getting into the books here, though, and getting paid today. Tomorrow we got a great NFL card as well, and then we'll enjoy Monday. There, it's a little slower pace on Monday. And we deserve it. So let's get to work.
Absolutely. And we're going to be talking about a little bit more than just college football today. We have a college basketball slate, a small slate, but we still have some college basketball on the board today. And also we have 2 NFL games that we're going to be talking about as well. But this is for you guys. Get into the chat. Please say hello. Tell me what you're drinking right now. I got a little bit of an espresso today. I'm going small, not with a big cup today. Delicious. That's what we were doing this morning. Get the caffeine flowing through our veins. And like I said, this is not for us. This is for you guys. You ask the questions. We give the opinions on all the plays that are on the slate today. Please share your plays as well with the people, as you guys, 21 of you beautiful bastards watching this live, and we are going to be climbing as the show goes along. But first, let's get into some of the action that is going to be happening today. We're going to start with the first bowl game on the slate. This one kicks off 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Troy versus Duke. Now, Duke, of course, a lot of opt-outs on their end of the slate. As I was trying to get the name of the bowl for this one, it is the Birmingham Bowl. Looks like Troy's going to be playing a home game virtually versus a Duke team that has basically lost everybody. They are favored here at -7, -6.5, depending on what book you're getting at. I'll start with you, Mike. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I was just trying to kind of pivot over to this and get my notes pulled up as well here, but it did seem like this is kind of a difficult spot for Duke here. I'm trying to find the spot that I had with all my notes with the players that are in and out of this thing. But if I recall, Duke was kind of ravished and dismantled here with this entirety of the opt-out season. And the one thing I've noticed kind of right off the gate with the bowl season here, I can't quantify it as much as win-loss record, but my overall observation has been really around this cash flow with these numbers. When you see the totals, specifically kind of when the public's been hammering away on one of the sides, it's going the opposite when it comes to now the sides the public seems to have been doing really well with. But I referenced that in this game because ticket counts down for the sides themselves, but the totals are kind of where I wanted to look for this game. And we see 71% of the bets on the over, and it's not moving. So in fact, 44.5 looks like that was the opening number. That's the current number that I see out there as well. And that kind of has the recipe for me to start looking at this under. I do see the line again moving in Troy's direction, which makes sense, again, just based on the number of opt-outs that are in there. But I got to look for this being a lower scoring game. I don't know who's going to be able to generate that offense that we see with Duke. And, again, just kind of up and down their roster, not a good spot to be when you're looking at trying to get a big spread cover out there. Now, they've got 7 in their back pocket, but I just don't think that's going to be enough. I think Troy's going to handle these guys pretty handily, and it's going to be a tough spot for Duke to get the job done.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. I think it's taking Troy or pass. A lot of key opt-outs in this one. Of course, Mike Elko leaving the program, going to Texas A&M. But Summerall also left the program for Troy, head coach, and he's going to Tulane. But the opt-outs are very minimal here. You have the defensive coordinator, Greg Gasparato, who's actually done a tremendous job over there at Troy with the defense. He's going to be taking over as the interim coach. The offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, ironically enough, Gerard Parker is going to be taking over the job for Troy at the end of the season, which I think was kind of alarming because he was an interim offensive coordinator when he came in at Notre Dame. But I think Vidal is going to be one of the keys on this one. I think they're going to be able to run the ball handily with him, and it's going to be more of a run-oriented type of situation there. But yeah, the under is probably the look on this one. I'm seeing the total here at 44.5 to 45s on the board. No Riley Leonard, obviously. They're going to have to go with the backup quarterback who's played in the last 3 games. He was 1-2 straight up in those spots. Jordan Waters, their leading rusher, going to be gone as well. Their best edge rusher, RJ Oben, he's transferred out. So they have a lot of guys on the end. Of course, one of their big wide receivers has been there forever. Jeremy Calhoun is not going to be playing in that game as well. He's opted out. So it's tough for Duke to even try to piece together any sort of type of offense in this one. But I think the total is probably the better look on this one. I'd lean towards the under. Nothing official for me on that one. Coming up here at 12 p.m. The Birmingham Bowl. Next item up for bids here. We're going to go with another 12 p.m. game. Arkansas State going up against Northern Illinois in the Camellia Bowl in Montgomery, Alabama. 2 Alabama games back-to-back at noon here. You have the Red Wolves stepping into this spot, probably a little bit motivated in this one. I don't see a lot of opt-outs on their end. Same thing with Northern Illinois. They should be ready to go as well. Nobody really that I can see is being listed as out or withdrawing or anything like that on their end. I think they're going to be fine. So what are your thoughts on this game here, Arkansas versus Northern Illinois?
I got to find these opt-outs. I thought Northern Illinois did have some significant impact here, but here we go. I knew I would find it. I knew I could find it and get it done here. Let's go. A lot of Bulls, a lot of college, everything going on with my system right now. And the one thing I've been tracking with the college bowl season is when you have a lower scoring team and how that lower scoring team fares against a higher scoring team. You would think that in this case that you've got a spot where, the higher scoring team just goes out there and manhandles them and puts the points on the board. But we're seeing the opposite happen here. And the big spot that I saw with Northern Illinois is the starting center. Pete, was it Nigra?
Nigra, yes. He is a key opt-out, correct.
And so for a team that likes to run the ball, right? If you look at Northern Illinois' coach, he's former running back situation there, likes to run the ball, likes to pound it and keep the clock moving. The center is the key cog in that wheel. So the guy that's handing that ball off and moving, kind of the initial touches the ball every single time, that comfort and familiarity with the process, the just going through the motions of the actual handoff itself, I think are a complicated situation for him. But, I was talking about the spot when it comes down to the teams that outscore the other teams there, and they are not doing well. So in this situation, the numbers would indicate or allude to a spot to play on Northern Illinois. I'm just struggling with the fact that, again, the key foundation's out of there. If you look at the total, the side opened at 1.5, 2.5s, and even 3s out there now. 58% of the bets, but 80% of the cash is on the Arkansas State side of things. And I think that's the side to go with in this thing here. It's a low number to get over. We see MAC teams don't perform historically well when it comes to these out-of-conference bowl spots. And, I just think it's a situation where they're going to have difficulty producing offense. And on the other side of things with Arkansas State, they're used to kind of those low defensive situations where they run and gun. And the fact that the 80% of the cash mark is on the Arkansas State side of things is the significant spot to me, because the public's pretty twisted between these two there. 58%. It's basically a coin flip when it comes to the bets, but the bigger money's laying it down on Arkansas State. And again, I think it's that opt-out factor. If you look at the transfer portal for Arkansas State, Javante McKay, 739 steps. Their starting linebacker. Yeah, that's a big deal. But on the flip side of things, I just don't see how they're going to be able to generate offense. You got a wide receiver that didn't take a ton of snaps, but he's out of the game for Northern Illinois. Both their safeties out of the game for Northern Illinois as well. I think it's a bad spot. I think Ark State gets the job done. That's going to be my first official play on the bull card today. Ark State -3.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that one. And especially when you look at how bad Northern Illinois is in board. I think they're on a 1-4 ATS as far as their bowl record is concerned, dating back to 2016. But yeah, I was a little bit wrong when I opened that up when you talk about the opt-outs on this one. You mentioned Trayvon Rudolph, their top wide receiver and kick returner for that matter, is not going to be playing this game. Pete Nigra, losing the center, your starting center, who's taking all the snaps and putting in a new guy in there. He's the quarterback of the line. It's almost like losing a quarterback essentially. And a team that likes to run the ball as much as Northern Illinois does, that's a detriment to them. And with Arkansas State, I think their weak point is stopping the run. Really, they give up 4.8 yards per carry. They're not really good on the defensive side altogether, to be, but they are fun and gun. They love to just go back and forth and score. Um, but you look at both of these teams, non-conference wise, they were both unimpressive for the most part. You have NIU lost to Southern Illinois and Nebraska. They got crushed by them. Tulsa's not a good team. So I probably lean the same way that you do. I think Arkansas State is probably the play on this one. I don't really trust Northern Illinois, especially with the opt-out. It seems like Arkansas State cares a little bit more about this game. Playing close to home, I would say,
Right.
In the South, playing in Bama. I think you're probably going to see a heavy Red Wolves crew there. I would probably say the lean on this one would be Arkansas State.
And of note there, the total has been skyrocketing here from 51.5, 53.5, and on its way up to 54s. 75% of the bets, 97% of the cash on the over, suggesting a shootout. And I'm going to disagree with that. I think it's an opportunity here. Now they just took those numbers down, literally as I said it here, but I don't think NIU is going to be able to generate the offense that everybody else is expecting there. We're seeing it evident in the line moving towards Ark State. We just talked about the opt-outs. Nobody touches the ball more than the center, except for the quarterback, maybe. And you can argue that's not the case either. So, I mean, a direct snap's the only way the quarterbacks or the center's not getting involved. So I think that's a big factor. I like the under in that thing too, but I'm definitely on the -2.5 spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't agree with you more on that one. And make sure you guys get into the chat. I know you guys are watching us live here today on a Saturday morning as we're giving all this beautiful information to the people. Make sure you get into the chat, ask your questions, even just tell me what you're drinking, what you're smoking, what you're cooking today on this Christmas Eve.
The eve of Christmas Eve, baby.
Eve of Christmas Eve with all the.
Are you?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, are you foreshadowing this next game with your choice of attire today?
It might be correct. It might be correct because we're going to be talking about the next game that's on the board. JMU, James Madison, a team that I love and cherish the past 2 years, having a tremendous season, going 11-1 straight up. However, Stignetti, the coach, decides to leave the program, head to greener pastures, so to speak. Bigger job for him. And he's going up against an Air Force team that, quite frankly, back into the season, struggled, but they had a lot of injuries, and I think they're going to be healthy for this spot. I like Air Force on this one, and I'll get into my spiel in a minute, but I'll pass it to you, Mike. What are your thoughts on this one? JMU versus Air Force.
So thus far this week, the success that I've had with the bowl games, albeit not as much as I'd like, but I think that the big factor with these early spots is it's very difficult to tell with these mid-major programs when they're 5 and 7 making bowl games what they're going to do out there. But the numbers that I've been able to break it down, just simplifying it and looking at the components that are missing and trying to identify how many points they're worth out there. And I know earlier this week was a big factor. We looked at some teams like Western Kentucky, and in the case of Syracuse is the one that I want to reference and preface with this type of game because very similar situation. Whole ton of guys in the quarterback room out of there for Syracuse. They get rid of Dino Babers, the coach as well. And I kind of feel like that's the situation here with James Madison. Coach goes, starting quarterback, 777 snaps. He's in the transfer portal, but it says he's going to start, Jordan McLeod. Now, the thing about that, though, is if you watch the video with Jaden McDaniels when he transferred from, was that New Mexico State? He leaves New Mexico State and he goes out to LSU, New Mexico or New Mexico State, either way, goes out to LSU. And what was happening in the locker room? They were hazing the hell out of that guy as he was going, talking about how he's worthless, he's no good. And I think when you're in a situation like the starting quarterback, if you're going to let him come back and play snaps, I don't think that's a good message to send up and down. I don't know how much kind of followership that guy's going to get out there. And then if you look down the line, everybody's leaving. The starting linebackers, both of them out of there. Starting defensive line. So my point around this, when you look at the Air Force side of things, and I get what their season has and hasn't done, but I think in this case here, the points are warranted where you're looking at the number saying, it opened at 4.5. It's down to 1.5 in some spots, and you're starting to see pick'ems as well. I think the plus money, the money line for Air Force to come out and get this thing done to me seems like buy hat engaged. It's an opportunity. There's just too many missing pieces on that James Madison side of things to come out there and compete. Now, would I be surprised that it goes the other way? I wouldn't, but I just think if you look at again Air Force, yeah, their starting running back is in the transfer portal, okay, but. Outside of that, they're getting some key guys coming back as well. Their starting cornerback, Jerome Galliard, should be back here, 340 snap guy coming back from injury. And I think it's just a good story to be told for an Air Force team that wants to finish on a high and get a big win under their belts here with James Madison. So I think all the momentum, all the motivations on that Air Force side. I like that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm seeing the line like dip down here. I got it at +3. I got it way early on as the Bulls because I figured this line would drop off the tabletop. Listen, I love this game. This is one of my top bets. Actually, my best bet of the day as far as the bowl games are concerned. But when you look at this team, I mean, you said it best. Uh, I mean, they're 11-1 straight up, 8-4 ATS this season as far as JMU is concerned. And when you look at Air Force, when they were healthy, they won 8 straight. But they finished the last 4 games of the season, losing, going 8-4 straight up, 5-7 ATS. They went 0-4 basically due to their 2 leading rushers in Zach Laurier and Emmanuel Michael, who were out for injuries that happened during the Army game. And now they're going to be back and playing in this bowl. So that is a big boost to the offense. When they were playing, they were 8-0 straight up, 5-3 ATS, and were never a dog in any of those spots when they were in full strength. So this was like a team that was absolutely strong in the Mountain West and were projected to win the Mountain West if it wasn't for those injuries. A lot of opt-outs on the JMU side. It looks like most of them are just in the transfer portal. From what I'm reading here, a lot of them are going to be playing except for like one guy. So they right? should. Yeah, that's what it's saying here that I'm reading. It says that's the reports. We'll see if that's actually occurring as far as all the defensive guys and all the offensive weapons that are coming out. You said it. Jordan McLeod looks like he will be starting in this spot as well. But they're going to be without their.
Watch the sidelines in this one here. It wouldn't surprise me to see some guys fighting with each other on the sidelines in this case here. You know, that kind of big ego problems going on there when guys start transferring out. And then you're going to let them back around. That's a dangerous position to be in. When their mind's already made up and they're checked out, it's going to be like, was that Eli Appleton there with LSU when he was on the sidelines with the coach and the coach was ripping the jacket off the guy and telling him to, get, you just, it's a bad spot to be, I think, in this case.
Yeah, I mean, and especially with all the coaching staff's not going to be there. I mean, Stignetti's gone, the offensive coordinator's gone, the defensive coordinator gone, the quarterback coach is gone, all heading to Indiana. They had to basically have to go on the street to go hire 4 guys just so they could actually go and compete in this bowl game. And you got to look at it from another perspective with JMU. JMU expected to be, I mean, granted, they were going through a lot of friction with the NCAA to even get into a bowl game. And quite frankly, they feel like they're the best G5 team in the country. And I wouldn't disagree with that. However, the problem is, the NCAA is not going to let you go play in a New Year's Six bowl. So this is kind of a downgrade to go even play in the Armed Forces Bowl. Whereas you look at the Air Force side, Air Force always shows up and plays in bowls. I mean, in their last 9 bowl games, they're 7-2 ATS. And they're on a 4-0 ATS streak dating back to 2016. So I think this is going to be a super high motivated Air Force team. I know that JMU is really good against the run. They're one of the best against rush defenses. However, they haven't seen a triple option yet. Triple option is a whole different animal to even defend. It takes a lot of coaching, it takes a lot of discipline. And I just don't, with the whole entire coaching staff, mass exodus, they're not going to be prepared what Air Force is going to be bringing to the table. I think Air Force wins this game outright, wins it easy, but I'm going to take the +3 as a 3-unit play for me. Air Force Falcons. +3, 3-unit play.
Lock them in.
Lock it in. Lock it in. Lock it in. All right. C29, you beautiful bastards watching us here live here on a Saturday morning. Please like and subscribe to the Shrek Warriors Nation channel and hit the like button, please. Smash it, whatever they tell you how to do it. I don't know what the kids say, but please do that. That keeps us in the algorithm of all algorithms of the gambling networks. So please do that. That's all we ask as we give you this free information for the low cost of $0.00. We're going to take a little breather. We're going to go and I'm going to get the coffee brewing. I'm going to get the beans ground up. And I'm going to spit it out with a little bit of water, drip, 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 into the cup and take a little sip. And we call this baby the Cup of Coffee Parlay. Let's go. Cup of Coffee Parlay on a beautiful Saturday morning, and this is what I'm brewing today. A little short one because why? There's not a lot going on in the world. A lot of small games. We're not dealing with a big college football slate like we're used to on this one. But I'm gonna take a lean. I actually put NIU money line in there. I just like them on the plus. whatever. It is what it is. I'm gonna take Air Force money line, Utah State money line, and I'm gonna take the Steelers money line in the NFL
Ooh.
today. Throw that in there for a little bit of juice, and then of course I'm gonna go with Utah money line. I like them today. Give me a plus 25-10 parlay on that one. So you put in $10, you get 251. There you go. That's a parlay for today. Let's see if we can get it done. I kind of regret taking that Northern Illinois one. I don't know what I was thinking. As I was talking that out in my head, I was like, of course I should have went the other way. But anyways, you do with it what you will. All right, we're gonna take a little. I want to make sure I get some of these plays out for college hoops today, so I want to talk a little ball. As I get my notes up here, let's talk about this one here. North Texas playing UT Arlington. They're getting back home in the swing of things. You have Northern Illinois. I'm sorry, not Northern Illinois. North Texas coming off a 3-game losing streak, covering 6 out of the last 9 in the process, though, however. Texas Arlington on the other side, been running red hot. They've covered their last 4 games. They're 6-2 ATS in the last 8. But if you look at the history, North Texas owns this matchup. They've won 4 straight versus Texas Arlington straight up. Last year, these two teams met in North Texas. North Texas won the game 64-36, primarily on a strong first half. And that's why I'm going to be looking first half on this one, 43-12. And you look at North Texas, they're really good in the first half. They like to come out fast. They average 40.3 points per game at home this season, ranked them 65th in the country in first half. North Texas is also great on the defensive side in the first half. They hold their opponents to 29.1 points per game in the first, ranked 25th in the country. You look at Texas Arlington on the other side, they're just bad defensively, especially in the first half. They allow their opponents to get 37.8 points per game in the first half, 40.8 points per game on the road. That ranks them 300th in the country in that statistic. So I think the key on this one, North Texas, coming off a 3-game losing streak, wants to get back into the swing of things. They're at home. They're playing a UTA team that they historically own, and there's just a huge discrepancy here with their first half splits. And the line is at 7.5 and 8 for the full game. And you see in the first half sitting at -4.5. That's almost 60% of the entire line is weighted in the first half. So that tells you a story there. Give me North Texas here, first half, -4.5 first half play for me today. You have any thoughts on this crappy game, or should we move on?
I like you breaking it down to the first half, because North Texas is one of those teams where you look at it, as the game kind of comes down to it at the end, and it's like, oh man, are they going to let this backdoor cover come into the equation? So yeah, the fact that it's front loaded tells you, I think, what you need to know about that game. When you talk about that number, if it's not an even split, yeah, they like the first half to see the scoring, and I wouldn't be surprised to see UT Arlington. They're a win one, lose one team. They're on the zigzag pattern right now, and they're in the win one position. So backdoor cover very much open and in play. But I can't get mad at that. I'm down with that spot there. The spot that I looked at for 1:00 here is Long Island and St. Mary's. Line opens at 12.5, moves to 14.5, 63% of the bet, 78% of the cash. On the St. Mary's side of things, the total opens at 145.5, down to 144.5, 56% of the bets, and 84% of the cash banging on that under. And Mount St. Mary's should easily handle Long Island. That Long Island team stinks. They're just one win on the season. They got blasted by Rutgers 83-61. They got blasted by UMass Lowell 78-65. They got busted up by Miami 97-49. They're not even close in these games. And then on the other side of things, we've got a team in St. Mary's that's been lined as a favorite in a number of their games this season, and they're handling business. So I think this is a spot where this number tells you what you need to know as well. 14.5 points is a ton of points. But it's 14.5 for a reason. In college games here, when you've got just this mismatch here with a team that's just kind of getting into D1 and the LIU Sharks trying to figure it out, Mount St. Mary's should easily handle business with these guys. And I wouldn't let the 14.5 scare you away. I think it's a good number right now. I still think there's value in that spot. I think St. Mary's comes out there. The way that St. Mary's likes to play the game, when they're in an underdog role, they're 50-50. When there's nothing enamoring about their numbers themselves, other than just, I think this is the spot where the line's moving in correlation, and it has to do with truly a reflection of how bad Long Island is here. So I think that's going to be good money to start the day off at 1:00.
Yeah, I like. I like that look a lot. Yeah, you broke it down. You said it best, and I'm seeing I'm seeing 48% of the tickets and 80% of the money going towards St. Mary's, depending on what you're looking at there. But yeah, I think St. Mary's double-digit favorite. That just tells you something there. Or Mount St. Mary's. I'm sorry.
Mount St. Mary.
Yeah, I mean St. Mary's, Mount St. Mary's is two different teams. I got you.
Sounds like a parlay though.
It sounds like get the St. Mary's parlay going on that one. Another game that I like here. I only like 2 games today, and I'm basically just playing first halves right now. I'm trying something a little bit different than I normally do. I've been taking full games all season long, but I realize I'm not doing it like I should be doing it. It's like heavy weighted first half plays I need to look at, especially when you're seeing 60% of the line going into the first half, and you've seen it here with Alabama. Going against Eastern Kentucky, going back home after a 3-game stretch on the road, playing a gauntlet, and I'll get to that in a second. But you look at Eastern Kentucky, they're 1-7 ATS in the last 8 games, 0-5 straight up. Where you have Bama coming off a 3-game losing streak, like I said, back-to-back road games versus the strongest of all strong, Arizona, Creighton, and Purdue. Back-to-back, absolutely devastating list there. They're 5-5 straight up, 4-6 ATS in the last 10 games. But they battled in the first half. But to all 3 of these teams, they went to at Arizona. They only trailed by 1 at the half. Creighton, they were tied at the half, 44-44. And then Purdue, they actually had a lead, 49-47 at the half. Did lose all 3 of those games. So this is a team that likes to start fast, and then they kind of regress in the second half. Look at Eastern Kentucky. In the last 2 games, they've actually regressed in the first half. Actually started out slow, 48-41 versus Troy at the half. But they were 40 and they were 40 and 4. It was 40-40 in the second half. But you look at North Kentucky, 39-27. They trailed in the first half, and then they 48-46 in the second half. So they actually did better in the second half than they did in the first. Then you look at Bama. They're ranked first in the country in first half scoring, 45.5 points per game, where you got Eastern Kentucky, 139th in the country, 35.3 points per game. Defensively, not so great for Bama, but the 242nd in defensive scoring, 35-38. 35.8 points per game at home, but they only give up 30.8 points. So they do play a little bit better at home, a little bit stronger on the defensive side, where Eastern Kentucky is ranked 285th in the country in opponents scoring first half 37.1 points per game. I think this is a perfect rebound spot for Bama, honestly. They played 3 devastating games back-to-back on the road. Now you get back home where you're most comfortable. You're playing a lackluster team, and you actually look at the schedule, and they played these low-level teams. Bama's just exploded on them and beat them up, especially in the first half. Lines weighted. You've seen the line sitting at -24, -24.5, but the first half line is -14.5. So that tells you a story there. It's heavily weighted. So give me Bama first half -14.5 to get it done versus Eastern Kentucky. There you go. Playing some really dirty bottom feeder games today, but that's how I do it. Anything else you see on the board that really sticks out to you on college basketball?
I kind of went through this, well, not kind of, the entirety of the board today, and it was just weird spots for me because a lot of the stuff that I liked in college hoops was kind of earlier on, and then a lot of the, obviously bowl games kind of throughout, but then kind of set up perfectly for the NFL. So the other spot that I looked at was an earlier game here. The spot that I wanted to take a look at was this Villanova game. So Villanova -11.5, opened at -11.5, 29% of the bets. So the public's pounding in on DePaul. And they're thinking this is too many points. And I think that's the mistake. That's a bad assumption. Villanova comes off of a double overtime game against Creighton. And I get that the conversation would think about them being tired because it's double overtime. But look, it's not like they just played yesterday. It was 3 days ago. So huge comeback in the second half. And it's almost, to me, when I watched that game, had a small little token on that thing. And it almost felt like there was a switch that flipped for Villanova where they kind of recognized who they really are now. And that was kind of missing in the front half of the year. They went out there and they had a nice little 3-game losing streak. And, they were losing to like their crosstown rivalries in St. Joe's, Drexler, just not good spots on the card for them. But that was a huge statement win for them to come out there with against Creighton and win the game outright as a 9.5-point dog. Sheer fighting. They were getting blown out of the gym and they fought their way back. And they took them down because of, durability and stamina in that second overtime. On the flip side of things, DePaul stinks. They're just not a good team whatsoever. They've got program games against NIU, and they lost. They were favorites there. Iowa State, All right, I guess that was a big one for them. They got beat up 99-80. They didn't cover the spread. Texas A&M, they're getting 19 and a half. They lose that game by almost 30 points. They do have a big win against Louisville, but then Northwestern comes back in the gym and shuts them down with 46 points. So I don't know how DePaul's going to be able to get the job done. Now, the thing about DePaul is they like to force teams to shoot, in awkward, distance shots out there and force them to board up and get physical. And I think that plays into the strength for Villanova in this game here. So I like the numbers. I like the fact that the line, everyone's pounding in on DePaul, making that assumption that Villanova stinks. And I think with the eyes that I have in my head here, that I watched this, again, that switch kind of flipped in that game against Creighton. And I think, again, 11 and a half, and we're starting to see a little bit of 12 action out there. Good spot, I think, for Villanova. It's a misjudging opportunity by the public. It's still a nationally televised game with Fox Sports as well. So I think there's a good opportunity for Villanova to work these boys. I like the first half and the full game, but I'm going to count on them to be able to come out in the long here with the full game and get the 11 and a half for me.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the line functionality on this one. I mean, they did come off that nice little win versus Creighton, 68-66. They beat UCLA as well. But yeah, they had a 3-game losing streak, got a little bit of a funk after winning 6 out of the last 7 to start the season. But yeah, this is a team maybe they just needed to get the smelling salts and get prepared for what is going to be a gauntlet of a slate. But yeah, DePaul is not a good team. I mean, they lost to Northwestern as 10-point. There were 10-point dogs against them. They're 11 and a half sitting here. They did beat Louisville. But yeah, this team has lost 6 out of the last 7 games, and they've only covered 1. Yeah, this is a team you don't want to be backing whatsoever in DePaul. So yeah, I like that look there as well. Yeah, I think it's Villanova or pass. I'm seeing 30% of the money. 30% of the tickets, 58% of the money, and it makes no sense to me. Is it just because there's too many points for Villanova? I think they get it done. I think this team's a lot. I mean, Villanova is just a much better team than DePaul.
This sets up for the perfect, square patty play of the day here, because the public's going to look at this DePaul team. They're going to see what they've seen from Villanova as far as kind of that sluggish start early that was documented with some of those crosstown losses. That was not a good St. Joe's team that they lost to. And then if you look at DePaul and you just want to play the schedule game, if you're just looking at it at a quick glance and you see, oh, they beat Louisville. That's not a good Louisville team either this year. That's not the Louisville team of 5 years ago or the Rick Pitino days there. That's a bad Louisville team to be able to get that job done. So I just think it's a misjudged spot, and the fact that it's a minus 11 and a half, love it. Give me the opportunity. If it was like 7, I might be a little more concerned, but the 11 and a half, the fact that in this case there's more points than you'd like to have, to me, says that this is a Villanova gets it done spot.
Yep, absolutely. I can't. I'm with you on that one. I did have some leans. I did lean. I was going to take Seton Hall first half. I did pass on that one. I kind of looked at the numbers in that one, and their first half splits did not impress me at all. Even though that line correlation was really weird, I thought that at plus 1.5 on I think it was like a 4.5 point line favored for Xavier. I think that's Seton Hall first half might be a lean, but I didn't take that one. Passed on it once I started breaking down the numbers. I just couldn't justify the bet at all. But let's get back into a little bit of college football bowls. We're still rolling through a lot of this slate. But let's talk about the next one that is going to be coming up here, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. It is the Idaho Potato Bowl on the blue turf in Boise, Idaho. Now, Georgia State coming into this one, the opt-out situation seems a little bit more stronger on the Georgia State side than it is on the Utah State side. Quarterback Levi Williams will be taking over for Utah State, but he's played a few games already this season, but that's due to injury, not opt-outs. Georgia State, Utah State. What are your thoughts on this one?
This is going to be a bad game. That's my Georgia State's, again, transfer portal galore. The problem with these mid-major schools and where the opportunity for the transfer portal comes in is it's almost like junior college now, where the guys get a year or two there and then they figure things out. And then as they get better, they get the opportunity to get kind of promoted or move on to the big schools. And just a bad spot. The actual opt-outs for Georgia State, linebacker Jontre Hunter was in there for 94 tackles. Offensive linebacker Shamir McCollum, 30 tackles and a sack. Center, Avery Reese. Again, that center component's a big factor when I look at these games. And then the offensive lineman, Travis Glover. It's only 4 guys, but look at those 4 positions and what they do out there. You got kind of the interior core of your defense is gone, and you got your front line that's going to stop the rush and aid in the ability to run the ball out of there with your center and offensive lineman. That's a bad spot to be. And now you look at Utah State on the other side of things, and they're going to go to a Levi Williams as the center or as the quarterback, specifically because of Cooper Legis. He's been injured. McKay Hillstead should be the backup, but 121 snaps in Levi Williams. And that's not the guy that, again, this kind of feels like that Syracuse spot where they put this guy in with 57 snaps on the season, and he kind of crumbled. And here's a guy with 121 snaps, not the spot that I would get too excited about on the Utah State side of things. And then when you look at, that line functionality, you got a 5.5 point movement from the original opening spot in the look ahead lines. Utah State opens at 3.5, now -2, 79% and 88% of the bets on Utah State. Wouldn't surprise me that Georgia State finds a way to come out and win this game anyway. It's just not a game I'm interested in. I would say that, we don't see points at Boise State. The Smurf turf's definitely going to impact sight lines for a lot of guys as well when it comes to quarterbacks and throwing, but you're not going to have seasoned guys out there throwing the ball anyway. So this is a pass game for me. This is going to be a shit game.
Well, I'm going to step in and I'm going to make a play on this one. All right. So I'll be able to talk this game out. Let's talk this out real quick. So Utah State's comes into this game winning 3 out of the last 4 to get bowl eligible, 6-6 straight up in ATS for the year. So they actually finished the season strong to get to this bowl game. I think there's a little bit of a motivational factor for them there. And of course, Georgia State really exceeded expectations, exceeded their win total. I think it was like 4.5 this season, 6-6 straight up, but they lost 5 straight games in a row. And they're in the same boat, 6-6 straight up and ATS for the season. When you look at these two teams non-conference, I think Utah State has the edge. +8 point differential, +36 net yard average, +3 turnover ratio, 2-2 straight up, 2-2 ATS. But Georgia State reluctantly 0 point differential, -8 net yard average, +6 turnover ratio, and they're 3-1 straight up, 2-2 ATS. I think that has to do with a lot with the turnovers that they received in those games. Then you got to look at the two teams' last 4 games. You got Utah State with a -2 point differential, +8 net yard average, -1 turnover ratio. However, 3-1 straight up, 2-2 ATS. Georgia State on the other side, last 4 games, -24 point differential, -205 net yard average, 0-4 straight up, 1-3 ATS in that run. Georgia State, you talked about the opt-outs, right? They're going to be losing their running back and 1,000-yard rusher Marcus Carroll, who is committed to Missouri now. So he's going out there. They're going to be without wide receiver Robert Lewis. So this benefits Utah State because the weakness is stopping the run. So if they don't have a run game, I don't know how they're going to play against this Utah State team. And Utah State will be without 2 quarterback options we just talked about. Now they go to Levi Williams. Levi Williams, you say that he doesn't have snaps. He does have snaps. He just doesn't have it with Utah State. You actually look at him. He's actually bowl experience to the T. In 2021, he led Wyoming to a 52-38 win in the Idaho Potato Bowl, this bowl right here. He had 200 yards rushing in that game, 9 of 11 passing with 1 TD. In 2019, he led Wyoming to a 38-17 win over Georgia State. Oh, they're playing Georgia State yet again in the Arizona Bowl, 11-26, 234 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT, and he had 53 yards rushing. So this guy is experienced in bowl games. I will say that. Now, Sunbelt, done very bad in bowls. 1-4 ATS so far in the bowls this season. And that is as of the 20th of December. So this is a team, this is a conference for that matter, who has just done poorly in bowls. And Georgia State is in the happy-go-lucky situation. They're glad they could actually get to a bowl finally after all these years. Utah State is going to take this a little bit more seriously. Less opt-out situation for them. And they got Levi Williams. Levi Williams, while everybody can say he sucks, he's inexperienced, well, you got to go look at his whole entire resume. Not at Utah State, but you have to go delve into the Wyoming stuff. So give me Utah State minus, I think it's -1.5 now, -2. Take that 2-unit play.
Take it while it's hot. It's getting hotter. It's going to 2.5s and 3. So not mad at that. Look, that's a little in-depth gem you might have found there. You might have swayed my opinion on this thing. The one stat that I was looking at that jumped out, there's not a lot of, I don't know, a lot of these trends that make a lot of difference when it comes to kind of this time of the season, because you don't get a lot of these matchups from previous years. But there is an opportunity that does pop up here, and it's the rushing air trend. When your last game, when you have a big rushing spot out there, but you rush more than your season average. If you're averaging less than 225 rushing yards, your last game you got over 300. The total is something that kind of was off my radar. But now you're mentioning what this quarterback's done and his capability to put up points. 34 and 15 to the over in those spots, and that is this Utah State Georgia State game. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 1 in its last 9 games that the opportunities existed have gone over. And maybe I could see Utah State now, knowing what you're telling me about this quarterback. Maybe the opportunity is swayed, and I'm going to think about taking the points in this thing here. It's down to a nice 58. It feels like it's kind of bottomed out, 5.5 points from the opening number. I might want to get on some points on this one and see some scoring. I like that Utah State look now that you kind of bring that up too. So you might have opened my eyes on that game. We'll see.
I mean, yeah, historically he's put up points, 52, 38. Granted, he's actually got a few starts under his belt as well with Utah State because he's had to. So I think this is a quarterback that'll step into the role just fine. Dual threat type of situation there, and he can move with his legs and he can throw the ball. I see Coin in the chat saying the Air Force line has moved significantly into the Air Force's favor. They say a 1.5, 2-point favorite now as it stands. If that's the case, just take the money line right now. Get rid of the points.
When I see what he's saying now, we talked about it. It was plus 104 when I said I'd look at the money line. Now I see it's minus 110. So that thing's moving.
It's moving. The sharps are hammering it. I'm seeing the steam off that one. 49% of that, 71% of the money right now on the on Air Force, and it makes sense. Listen, I always say this about bowls. I always pray that Navy, Army, and Air Force are in bowl games because I always take them. They always step up in bowl games. They're always more motivated than you, than the other side for some reason. And I always love it when they have to play like Washington State or something like that. Washington State's terrible in bowls. He said, Bob, the Candyman in the building. Like the over. Are you talking about the over in Air Force and and JMU? That's a weird one. I don't know about that one. I haven't really looked at the total. What I always like to do,
I would say the numbers are showing that everyone's banging on this over in that game. 62% of the bet, 75% of the cash on the over, and it's dropping. So for what that's worth,
and typically in those games, it's like if they can't stop Air Force, or if you can't stop a military team in the triple option, it's usually going to go over because, if you get the yak yards, 5 yards per carry, or what they want to do. Air Force can kill clock, but they can also score on you quick with big plays. So it's a real tough one for me. What I like to do with these splits is the best thing in bowls is to take them in halves. And if the first half goes over, take the second half under. It's like, it just seems like that has been connecting. I've been doing that all bowl season. I haven't been posting them because the lines go so quick. But that's the play that I always look for is if you've got the over, if there's a lot of points in the first half, slam the second half under, because typically what happens is that there's a regression in the second half in a lot of these games. And a lot of these, I noticed a lot of these games, it seemed like they're high scoring for the most part. Granted, last night's game went under the big number there, but a lot of these games that are sitting in the 40s and the 50s for the totals have been sailing over the total a lot. So, but I like to play it with first half, second half splits. Probably lean towards the under in the first half, and if that doesn't hit, slam it double time in the second.
I like that strategy.
That's the bowl strategy that I think that I learned that like 5 years ago, and it is pretty effective. Next game that comes up on the board here, we've talked enough about Utah State. Let's talk about this garbage game. All right, South Alabama versus Eastern Michigan. Highest spread of the bowl season so far that I've seen. This sitting at 17 and a half. Reason being is Eastern Michigan is probably going to have to pull some students out of the student section to even suit up and play in this game because, uh, a lot of key opt-outs, a lot of guys hitting the transfer portal for Eastern Michigan. What are your thoughts on this game, if you have any, of South Alabama and Eastern Michigan?
I don't know how Eastern Michigan's going to score. I mean, everybody in the offense is out. The quarterback's out, the tight end's out, the wide receivers out, the offensive guards out. And then you look on the defensive side, their edge rushers out, their defensive linemen's out. Bad spot. This game means a lot for South Alabama, but are they capable of going out there and picking up a 20-point cover in a game against Eastern Michigan? We know MAC teams, again, I talked about this earlier, they don't historically seem to do well outside in these bowl games. And the benefit that they have when it comes to the motivation here is they get that extra 3 or 4 weeks of practice that college football allows them that extra time to practice. But who's practicing? They're not building a program for next year. They're going to go find the players for next year at this point here because everybody left Eastern Michigan. So difficult spot. And then if you look on the other side of things for South Alabama, their number one wide receiver, Cullen Lacey, is going to be out of this game, 1,300-yard guy, and difficult to replace. They're still kind of dealing with, they're not sure what's happening with the quarterback. It looks like Carter Bradley still has that knee injury that's been lingering out there. And so they've been kind of splitting practice reps with him and Gio Lopez and Desmond Trotter. 90 snaps for Gio Lopez, 71 snaps for Desmond Trotter. I just don't know. I don't know how South Alabama gets enough done here to cover the spread. I would say that there's probably too many points now for the Eastern Michigan side. Like that seems like there's probably value at 17.5, but it's a 7 p.m. game. So I think as the public starts to kind of recognize this game on the radar, we might see that thing tick back up to 18. Yeah. And I would say that's a wait and late betting is great betting spot there, because as far as the total, it looks like the general consensus is the same. How are they going to score enough points to get the job done? It opens at 48.5, 60% of the bets, 80% of the cash on the under, and it's dropped 4 points. So they are showing that concern with the total movement down. In this case, I just don't know how Eastern Michigan, that's a bad game as well. I mean, yeah. I wonder how South Alabama gets the job. I don't know how they get enough, do they go out there and beat these boys down right off the gate? And then if they do go up enough, they're going to start putting their backups in and giving them some playing time. And that just opens that backdoor cover up even wider for Eastern Michigan. I would wait till it gets to 18 and jump on the points.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go down at any point. I think it's only going to go up. Maybe you can go buy it at its ceiling right before kickoff. Maybe if it hits 18.5 or something like that. I think you want to take the dog in this one. I'll just pull out some trends on this one. Double-digit dogs and bowls are 11-4 ATS in the last 15. Nice. When the closing line hits above double digits. Now, there was a situation where I think it was the UTSA game against Marshall where it was sitting at +11, +12, but it dipped to 7. So that one doesn't count. So we're still sitting at the 11-4 ATS line. Also, Eastern Michigan typically good in bowls. 4-1 ATS in their last 5 bowls. Where you look at South Alabama, 0-3 ATS in their last 3. But this is a different situation here. It seems like the motivation is on the South Alabama side. No Damian Webb, he's going to be out there, 1,000-yard rusher. He has a toe injury, not going to be playing that game. But they got Kendrell Bullock, who's played in the last few games, so he's done reasonably well for them. But you mentioned the Carter Bradley situation with the knee, but they have 3 quarterbacks that can actually play and have starting experience. Desmond Trotter, if he even gets any playing time on this one, used to be the starter for South Alabama years ago, but he's been sitting riding the pine since Carter Bradley took over the reins. But I think that quarterback situation, regardless of who it's going to be, I think they're going to be fine there. But yeah, I don't know with all the opt-outs with EMU just does not have depth. All right, these MAC teams have 0 depth, so if any guys sit out, it's problematic for them. I don't even know who the quarterback is going to be for them, because if you have Austin Smith out, I think Ike Uden I can't even say his name. He's another option, but he's terrible.
Yeah. And then if you look on the other side of things, the entire Jaguars defense is playing. So yeah, everybody's ready to go out there and feast tonight. Yeah, and that's going to be a bad spot for Udangwu to go out there and try to perform. And it's going to be a real difficult spot. You think about Eastern Michigan, you talk about these depth spots with these teams. And if you're a team, if you're a kid that's worth anything at all in that region of Eastern Michigan, you're not going to Eastern Michigan. You're going to a Big Ten school. You're going to Michigan. You're going to Ohio State. So now you're left with truly the leftovers of the talent to go and fill a MAC roster. And then if they get any good, they transfer out and go to a better school. So the kids that are left are not going to be guys that are out there in a position to compete. And you're going to get the best of the best with the South Alabama side of things here. Almost feels like I could go with the Eastern Michigan team total under spot.
Yeah. Yeah, you might as well, and see if they can even get any more. Bob the Candyman asked a question about this one. He asked about my first half split trend. Does it work the other way? Like if they'd have a over in the first a first half under, and then they have an over in the second half, or I think that's what you're trying to say. Or if they have a first half over, you would take them second half. That's what I mean. The under is the key element to this one. It's one or the other. So if you have an over in the first half, you want to slam it on the second half. But usually what I've been doing is just been taking first half unders, and as it works a little bit better as the bowls get a little bit more meaningful, like after Christmas, and then you can if the under hits in the first half, you just let the game go. You don't try to take the over in the second half because it's usually a coin flip. I've been tracking, but the under in the first half is the one you take, and then if it doesn't hit, you just double down in the second half, and 9 times out of 10 that usually works out in your favor. That's usually the trend that I've been going with that one. But lately, especially with these bowls, I have to gauge what's going on. And it seems like the first half, everybody's exploding out of the gate, and which is kind of out of the norm of what bowls are usually the bowl history has been. I've noticed the second half, especially even last game where they were trending towards the over, hit 34 points. I think it was 17-17 at the half. There wasn't a lot of scoring on the other side, on the opposite side. Need two teams to score, and then the under did hit in the second. So that's the stuff I'm looking for. But I mean, if you want to wait and just watch some of these halves, if it does go over, slam the second. That's the way to do it. Next game, this item's up for bids before we get to some NFL action that's going to be coming up today. Let's talk Utah versus Northwestern on this one. This is the Las Vegas Bowl. Las Vegas, Nevada, in Reliance Stadium, where the Raiders play. Utah here, the Raiders. Utah sitting here -6.5, -6, depending on what books here. I haven't seen if the line has been flying one way or the other yet today. But they're playing a Northwestern team that, to me, is a paper tiger. I'll start with you, Mike. You have any thoughts on this game? Dog shit. I can talk about it if you want.
Listen, Utah quarterbacks, Bryson Barnes and Nate Johnson in the transfer portal, not playing, right? We have the third string quarterback, 10 collegiate passing attempts in his career.
No, Bryson Barnes is playing.
Is he playing?
Yep.
Okay.
He's in here. He's part of the cap.
So if he's in there, then you got to look at this thing and think there's the overreaction, because the early numbers were 9.5. So 9.5 now down to 6.5. Maybe that was speculative that he wouldn't be playing out there. Everybody's pounding on Northwestern. Northwestern's not a team that can really do much of anything out there. I mean, I don't even know how they got a bowl game. They're just giving these things away at 7-5. They are 7-4 against the spread, but just not a team that I'm not a big. There's Big Tens. There's 3 teams, and everybody else is dog shit. And if you're not Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State, then you fall into the dog shit category. And Utah should have their way with these boys. Then at 6.5, that seems like that number might be a steal now, because again, I don't see how Northwestern generates enough offense to be competitive with a team that can go out there and score. The only problem I have with Utah, though, is they're still kind of reeling from not being able to replace that tight end movement that the Bills took the prior year. So the fact that their offense is kind of it's a one-cylinder type of thing going on out there scares me a little bit. But if the quarterback is playing, then I would take Utah at the -6.5.
Yeah, and I agree with you.
Gabby says he's playing too. All right, I'm in with Utah. Overreaction here. Why you're moving the point? You're moving this thing 3 points on speculation that he wouldn't play. I think that's probably get it now, because at this point, I would say that number is going to move the other direction.
Yeah, Davey said he goes 32 spot. There's 32 bowl spots, only 30 qualified. That's how JMU got in. And who else was in there? Who's the other team? Oh, Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State. That's how they got in as well. It's like they weren't supposed to be eligible, but they filled in the 2 voids. But yeah, I think Utah has a spot in this one. I got a 2-unit play on it officially. Utah coming to this game 8-4 straight up, 6-5 and 1 ATS. Northwestern did finish the season winning their last 3 games of the season, 7-5 straight up, 8-4 ATS. So they've been a covering monster, but their numbers don't make any sense to me. While they've won 7 games, they finished the year with a -1 point differential, -50 net yard average. 5 out of their 7 wins, they lost the yardage battle by -18 net yards. So it's kind of misleading when you look at the box scores for this Northwestern team. Of course, Northwestern in the last 4 games, +5 point differential, -52 net yard average, +2 turnover ratio, which is why they're getting these wins. In that span, they're 3-1 straight up, 4-0 ATS. Utah had 8 wins this season, but with a +5 point differential, +51 net yard average, +1 turnover ratio to give you a comparison. Northwestern's offense has issues all year. They only put up 305 yards of total offense, 3 yards per carry, 200 yards per game passing. They're ranked 118th in offensive production, 125th in yards per play this this year. So they're not a good team offensively. Utah is also terrible at protecting the quarterback. They allow their quarterback to get sacked at a 13.8% sack rate, which is ranked 128th in the country. On the defensive side of the ball, Utah has done well getting to the quarterback, 8.7 sack rate, 22nd in the country in that statistic. Also, look at so I broke down all the bowl games that Northwestern has played. So there's 7 teams that they played that are bowl eligible, right? They're 3-4 straight up, 4-3 ATS, but they have a -7 point differential, -67 net yard average versus them. Utah, on the other hand, 4-4 straight up, 5-3 ATS versus bowl teams, +2 point differential, -27 net yard average. Northwestern 2-7 ATS versus non-conference opponents dating back to 2021. That is bad. And then you got to look at the strength of schedule. Utah faced the 6th toughest schedule in the country and won 8 games. And they didn't have their starting quarterback. Cameron Rising didn't play all year, so they've been dancing around trying to find the quarterback. Bryson Barnes ended up getting the role. 55th in the country, their tough Northwestern schedule was. So not a tough schedule at all. Northwestern's just their wins are deceiving. Their stats are deceiving. I think they get exposed here for who they are versus a Utah team that's just much better than they are. Northwestern just going through this weird transitional period, losing Fitzgerald at the beginning of the season. The interim coach stepping in. He did have shockingly, they won 7 games. Don't know how that happened, but they got there regardless. I think Utah exposes them, and this is going to be a big win for the Utes. Give me them at -6.5, 2-unit play.
All right.
Yoo-hoo! That's it.
Yoo-hoo.
And I don't really want to talk about that San Jose Coastal Carolina game. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Man, I would probably lean to Coastal on that one as well. By that point, I'll be good and pickled and watching some NFL games. So you know what? If those 2 teams played 10 times this weekend, I wouldn't know one of them. So
I know.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you.
I know the line's dipping on this one. It looks like the sharp action is going towards the Coastal side, which is kind of alarming considering all the opt-outs on that side. But San Jose State, not really good in bowls, but neither is Coastal Carolina. Real tough spot, in my opinion. But the line is dipping to, I see 8.5, 7.5 hit the boards now. So if you like Coastal Carolina, grab it now. I don't think it's going to go back up. Let's go to some NFL action. Big game here in the AFC North. It is Cincinnati going against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers, quite frankly, just been not playing great at all. They're coming off a loss versus the Colts last week. Of course, Cincinnati winning in OT on Saturday versus the aforementioned Minnesota Vikings. New quarterback situation. Rudolph taking over for the Steelers today. It is a rivalry old as time, AFC North. What are your thoughts on this one, Mike?
I think it's actually a better spot for Pittsburgh that they've got Rudolph coming in there because where they were going to start this thing off, they needed to get a little bit more time. And I talked about this one last night. This is the Mike Tomlin advantage opportunity here. This is where the coaching battle is going to be won, and it's going to be, I think, the clear advantage to Mike Tomlin. When he's a home dog, Mike Tomlin's 14-6 against the spread. When he's a situation, when he's in conference, he's when he's got 29 points or greater the last game, 27-10 against the spread. And it's a Pittsburgh divisional battle here. Home dog against the division. He's 4-0 against the spread. I think we see a lower scoring game. I think we see a Pittsburgh team that finds a way to come out there and cover, maybe even win this game outright. And if you look at the other side with Cincinnati, with Browning, we're still in the Browning experiment. So, they run the ball well. We know that. We've seen that time and again here. But at this point, 52% of the bets and 70% of the cash on the Steelers. And I think that's for good reason. As far as the total is concerned, that thing's dropping as well, down to 38. Divisional game. I think that's what we're going to see. It's an 8-6 team versus 7-7 team. It's going to be a clash. It's going to be a battle. And I don't expect there to be a ton of progression from the Cincinnati side of things. We kind of know who they are based on, what we saw now. When you look at Cincinnati with the Browning experiment, they picked up a 3-point win against Minnesota. But I wasn't a big fan of kind of that situation with what they did out there. They pushed the game overall, laying 3 points. And I think it's just Mike Tomlin at home as a dog is not a spot you want to get in the way of here. Give me the Steelers. Give me the 3 points. And I'm going to go Freiermuth as far as the opportunity, because I think the Freiermuth looks up and down the card. Pass attempts or pass completions, receptions is the word I'm trying to look for here. Receptions and touchdowns here. His anytime touchdown is plus 475 right now at PointsBet. And if you look at the receptions opportunity out there, what do we get when these quarterbacks, divisional games, they get tight? Lots of little dish offs, lots of little opportunities to sidearm, chuck the ball, and who you're going to throw it to. You got to go to a guy in Freiermuth who's finally back in this lineup after dealing with some injuries in the early part of the season. I like that opportunity. So I like Freiermuth completions over 2.5. I like the touchdown spot, and I like the Steelers to get this job done at plus 3.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think the Steelers do get it done. I think when you look at the quote unquote Browning experiment, I mean, who have they played in the Browning experiment, right? Jacksonville, Indianapolis, and Minnesota. If you actually look at these teams against the pass, they're just not very good on the defensive side of the ball against the pass. Now they're going to be playing the Steelers defense. Their heartbeat is their defense. They're going to have to get it done today. I know they've kind of regressed in the last couple of weeks. They gave up 303 yards to New England. They gave up 372 to Indianapolis. But this is one of those Mike Tomlin dog home divisional game type of spots off a loss. It's all situational from there. I think this is plus you made the change at quarterback, which you need to do. Mitch Trubisky was just not getting it done. He had 4 touchdowns, 5 INTs. While his completion rate wasn't bad and his yards per attempt was not okay, the change in quarterback was necessary. Needed to be done. Hopefully they can actually start pounding the ball, run the ball, and they're going against a pass defense for Cincinnati, and this may help Mason Rudolph out. They give up 254 yards per game passing to their opponents, Cincinnati, which has got to be low. And versus divisional opponents, it's a little bit better, but they've given up 270 yards per game in the passing game, 71.8% pass completion rate to their opponents in the last 4 weeks. I think this is a good spot for them to, maybe move the ball, get the offense running, and then, maybe get another divisional win here. I don't think their hopes are dead yet. I mean, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 losses. So they're 7-7. We'll see if that changes here today, but I think both teams will be motivated. I'll take the dog on this one. I like the dog here, Pittsburgh, as well. Bob the Candyman goes, cup of coffee parlay. If you did miss it, I'll put it up here one more time for you guys. I did do one here today. I don't like NIU as much as I did this morning. I was, once you try to do these things too early before your coffee, sometimes you get a little bit delusional. Probably lean more towards the Arkansas State side. So if you want to take that off, go ahead. But that's the parlay. I got NIU, Air Force, Utah State, Pitt on the NFL money line and Utah money line, and that's the parlay today. May do an adjustment on that one to eliminate the NIU one and just do Air Force, Utah State, Pitt, and Utah. I like that one a little bit better than just as an FYI to the people. But we'll see how it goes here on this beautiful Saturday morning. One more game on the slate before we sign off and say toodaloo and cash your tickets. Let's go to the Buffalo and LA Superchargers. Of course, Chargers firing their quarterback Staley after an embarrassing 63-point giveaway to a divisional opponent on that one. Absolutely disgusting display of football. But you got a Buffalo team that's red hot, and they're getting treated that way finally with a double-digit favorite versus this Charger team. Typically you look at these spots and you think, maybe a motivational bounce back after their coach firing. You saw it with the Raiders earlier this season. What are your thoughts in this game, if you have any there, Mike?
Yeah, so I'm not going to be a fan favorite at the party I go to tonight because it's going to be Bills oriented, and I'm not going with the Bills. I'm not laying that many points. That's fucking crazy with the number of points that Buffalo Bills. I've been watching them all season. They're not a 12-point team cover here. Also, double-digit dogs that are off a 35-plus point loss are 15-0 against the spread if it's after the first 5 games of the season. So when they get beat up and blown out, they rally, and they rally confidently at a 15-0 spot, covering the spread by almost 15 points. Does that mean the Chargers win this thing outright because it's a 12-point spread? No, I don't think so. I think that's a little bit of a reach here for a Chargers team that is still kind of trying to figure out what they're going to do to finish this season off. But, big factor out there. When you look at the underdog of 3 or more points after a 20-point loss or more, 328 and 241 as well. So that's just kind of bigger sample size if you don't like that 15-game sample that I'm seeing out there. But there's too many points, man. There's no fucking way. I like Diggs. I'm a big Diggs fan in this case here. I can't believe I'm saying it, but he's been more than competent and capable out there. You look at what he did last week. That was a masterclass at wide receiver in a rainy game out there, and a huge game that mattered. And he came up with one-handed sidearm snags, and he probably looked the best I think I've seen him look all season. He was most relevant he's been all season as well. Too many points though. There's no way I could drop 12 with Buffalo. There's just no. You know what? If Buffalo comes back and covers this game and blows them out, good on them. I just think this is way too many points in an overreaction spot. It's a big travel situation. They come off that emotional, huge victory against Dallas. They needed that one because of the situation that they were in. Now you're asking them to fly across country. They got short rest. They got the holidays coming up. Too many circumstances in this spot here. It's a bad scheduling spot for Buffalo. Look at their schedule and who they've played. Yeah, it was the Jets, and they beat them up 32-6, but that was a big divisional game. Before that, Monday Night Football spot, they've got the 24-22 loss to Denver. They were out of that game right from the get-go, Buffalo. They had that turnover literally on the first kickoff, the opening kickoff. The Jets game, 32-6, divisional spot, but okay. Overtime game that they play against Philadelphia. Now the schedule's getting ratcheted up. Big spot there that they lost in overtime after really having the opportunity and not capitalizing. They bounce back in Kansas City. They win that game 20-17. That was another emotional one because the rumors were Josh Allen can't beat Patrick Mahomes. Then you give them a 31-10 game against Dallas. I understand why they're getting the points that they're getting, or that they're laying the points they're laying right now, but it's a bad schedule spot, emotional letdown opportunity as well. I think you got to go Chargers in this game.
Yeah, as I'm looking at the schedule, I'm saying situationally, this is a Chargers play, unfortunately. I mean, you think about the situation as like you fire their coach. Usually people go, oh, you fired your coach, you're in shambles. Well, sometimes firing your coach is a motivational tool that you needed because obviously that team was not playing for their coach whatsoever. And then you have the massive, you have a good sandwich spot here for Buffalo. You said it. They had to play Philadelphia, at Philadelphia, at Kansas City, and then they played a home game in Dallas. They went 2-1 in that run, 3-0 ATS. If you got the right side of the line in that Philly game, and then they got a revenge game coming up next week on deck at home versus New England. Now New England not the most impressive team, but it is a divisional game, and they did lose in Foxborough, if you remember, 29-25. So they're going to be hungry for that game coming up on deck. So I think it's better to look for them in the next 2 games because then they got a Miami after that to finish off the season. But this is a look ahead. I think it's a bad spot for Buffalo. Too many points. I think the Chargers will keep this close. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see if the rebound concern. Easton stick. Just don't turn over the ball. Learn how to, if you get sacked, learn how to go down with it properly. That's all we need from you. The fumbles, there was a lot of weird stuff that happened at that game in Las Vegas. Just absolutely high school-esque, even Pee-wee-esque like mistakes that were getting made. The fumbles, the botch kicks, the interceptions. It was just a travesty from the very start, and it did not stop for Las Vegas. I'm sorry, for the Chargers. Yeah, I think this is a bad spot for Buffalo. Going on the road, going to the West Coast, and then you have to go back home to go play New England. Motivational letdown. I probably lean towards the Chargers side. Nothing official for me on that one.
Not to
But
mention that the general public's going to look at that thing and be like, the Chargers stink. They just got blown out.
that's a perception, right? Yeah.
Right. And so there's no way the Bills don't cover this spread. I mean, at 12 points is, come on, they're going to blow them out. And then what happens? Buffalo is what happens. And they end up winning the game by like 2, barely.
Yeah, exactly. So going into the chat, wine time in there. What's up, my
Yeah,
guy? He's in here. Biggie Rock says, morning, guys. Of course, Bob the Candyman loves a prop on this one. He likes the under rushing and receiving for Austin Eckler. He's a free agent. He's going out there and get hurt. We'll see about that one. And of course, Dan Adelt say, what's up, guys? What's up, man? What's going on? Let me give me the horn for that one. But that's gonna do it here. We broke down everything. We said a lot. A lot of plays, a lot of leans, and a lot of takes on this beautiful Saturday morning. A lot of sports coming up. We're gonna have kickoffs here in 15 minutes, so we'll let you get to the tickets. Mike, give them the plugs. Tell them where they can find you all over the social media networks.
Yeah, I got to give you guys a 3-pack in the NHL as well here. I'm going with the Boston Bruins at 7 p.m. tonight. Nice little minus 125 spot right now. Boston has lost 3 straight games. Boston is one of the best comeback, bounce back teams out there. And they lost again last night, and it was kind of an embarrassing fashion to Winnipeg. So I'm going to jump on the Bruins today. My favorite spot on the card, I love the Penguins spot tonight here. Ottawa, now 3 games removed from their coach being fired. It's a revenge spot when you're the home dog, or when you're the home favorite and you lose and you're in a spot in the same season to come back and beat up on a team. That's what happens in the NHL. I like that spot. I like the Tampa Bay Lightning against the Washington Capitals. Low line here. Yeah, minus 136. You got to lay a little bit of juice to get into the game there. But this is a Washington Capitals team that now has a couple of big victories in a row. They're old. This is like the 3-game and 4-night factor for them. They literally, if you look at their lineup, have one of the oldest lineups in hockey. So I had to jump on that side of things. And for fun, just for fun, we did a little Buffalo parlay there last night. The Sabres money line at a nice plus 150 spot, and the Bills money line. And it turned out to be, I think it was 2-1 was the return on that thing. So it was a plus money return, despite the fact that the Bills were laying all those points. So I'm not afraid about that Bills spot as well. So a couple looks for you guys when it comes to hockey. We've had a good year in hockey. So try to keep it running. Got to keep feeding the goose there. We got to keep getting paid with these hockey spots. So that being said, though, Guns, we got a lot of things coming up here for the new year. I'm excited to continue to work with you in various aspects of the sporting world here. And, you guys can find me at PimpSlapPod on X. We've got Last Call Monday through Friday over there on Pub Sports Radio, breaking down the card, looking at last minute angles, trends, and movement that's going to help everybody get paid bigger and better. We do tons of live streams. Thursdays, big live stream for the NFL. But look, not going to be back until Tuesday, right? Going to take a little Christmas break here and try to enjoy a couple of days, rest, relax, recharge, and rejuvenate myself when it comes to looking back at these sports lines.
Absolutely. Go check out his show, though. I mean, doing great things over there at Pub Sports. Of course, the live streams that are on Thursday night, those are absolutely electric and really kill my liver. So it's definitely a good time hanging out with the boys there, and I appreciate Mike coming on with me on this Saturday morning. And I want to thank everybody in the chat that joined us today: Bob the Candyman and Dana Delp, Biggie Rock, Wine Time, Flea Mathis, Dabby Cab, and Coin, and everybody else that's watched us here live. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. That's all I ask for the Saturday morning, so you can spread all the beautiful information. We did a show last night on the NFL show, Circa Millions with the Shark. So go check that out. We broke down all the games for that slate. We did a little bit early so we can have Christmas off. So you won't be seeing us around probably until next week. So please enjoy your holiday. We'll be back. I'll be back doing the next round of college knowledge for college football bowls, which are the most meaningful bowls, the New Year's Eve and day bowls, including the college football playoff. I do have a top play for that one as well. So go check that out next week. And, of course, all the plays we gave out on this week of bowls and the NFL Week 16 already posted on the Shucky Water Station channel. So that's going to do it here for Saturday Mornings with the Guns Picks. Appreciate Mike for joining me. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Have a Merry Christmas or whatever holidays. Have a great holiday season. I don't want to offend anybody.
Happy holidays.
And Happy New Year. We will see you once again. I'll see you probably next Thursday to break down some more college bowls. But good luck with your picks. Let's dominate the board. And as always, let's keep dancing.